Now, I like science, and I collect public school textbooks. I have hundreds of them from many, many countries, from clear back from 1880, I believe, to 2005, textbooks. I'm not against science. We happen to really like the subject. We have all kinds of cool science displays at our museum and our science center, and you can come down and visit Dinosaur Adventureland and see for yourself. I am, however, against lying to kids. Now, in the first 3 videos, we talked about how students are being lied to about the Big Bang. It didn't happen. They're being lied to about the age of the earth. It is not billions of years old. They're being lied to about the cavemen. There's never been a caveman, unless you mean Osama bin Laden. Okay? They're being lied to about the dinosaurs. They did not live millions of years ago. Now, here we're going to cover about 30 more lies in the textbooks. There are hundreds we could go through. We're going to try to hit the highlights, and this could go for days just covering lies in our textbooks. I'm going to hit some of the big ones, leave some of the little ones go for another time when we have more time.
Okay, we got a caller on the phone, or should I go on here with this article?
Oh, yep, we do have a caller. I completely forgot about it, too. We got Jared on the phone.
Jared, the same Jared that's going to end up being our 3rd person on the program one of these days, right?
Not that Jared. Well, Jared is the 3rd person on the program today.
Oh, today is? Yeah. Go ahead, Jared. How can we help you?
That's true for the moment, yeah. Okay, so actually I want to give a quick little comment to what you were just talking about.
Okay.
What percentage of the population in America believes in astrology, do you think?
Oh, very small.
You know, like, give me a percent just for sake of conversation.
Say 10% or less.
Less than 10%?
Believes that the stars affect their life, you mean?
Stars, planets, moons.
Sure, yeah, the position, you know, if you're born under Aries or, you know, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you think it's a violation of some principle that we should be adhering to, that this view is not taught in public schools, even though...
Well, I think probably astrology is addressed in public schools as one of many religions, and you know, teachers will say, I've got science textbooks here where when you get into astronomy, they often mention astrology, and they say there are a small percentage of the population that believes, you know, the stars affect your life. You know,
I'm not aware of any astronomy professor that would ever teach about it. I mean, maybe they do, I don't know. But,
well, it's kind of a passing comment generally, like, wow, what a dumb idea this is. And I think that's how evolution should be approached, too. You know, a small percentage of the population believes they came from a rock, but they're dumb, let's go on to real science. You know, that would be my approach.
In America, I mean, because, like I said before, worldwide people believe in evolution far more than
that is not true. There are many countries that just laugh at the evolution theory. There are some countries where it is taught very strongly, but there's a large creation movement in many countries around the world. I've spoken in 37 countries.
Okay, well, I don't have any hard numbers for you. I'll have to get some statistics on
Sure.
that. But let's just suppose that 90% of the population did believe in astrology. Do you think, then, that it would make it okay to teach astrology in public schools?
Well, are you saying, then, that if 90% believe something, the 10% still have the right to demand that only their minority view be ruling because they have some kind of special knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, if 90% believe in something, maybe there would be a reason they believe in it, and it should be considered.
You know, a long time ago, 90% of the world population thought that the world was flat.
That is not correct. There has never been a time...
You don't think there was never a time in history when that was true?
There is never a time in history when the majority thought the world was flat. There have always been a few numbskulls who thought it was flat, but, you know, the Bible clearly teaches it's round. In the book of Isaiah, written, you know, about 1000 B.C., the Christians have known it was round. The Hebrews have always known it was round. I think nearly every culture knew it was round. The Egyptians certainly did. They even measured the radius of it.
Okay, how about people in Norway who thought that Thor controlled, you know, thunder and lightning?
Oh, there have always been strange superstitions within cultures, but that doesn't mean they're wrong on everything. Yeah, it's true. Some of the Norwegians, I don't know if they all believed it, you know. There have always been cultures. Today there are thousands of cultures that believe a few strange things. You know, like if you cut somebody's head off and eat his brains, you receive his spirit, or things like that. So
it doesn't seem like you're really giving me a effective answer to the question.
Well, phrase your question one more time, then.
If 90% of the population believes in something, does that mean that it should be taught in public school?
Well, that would raise the other question of who decides what's taught in public schools.
Yeah,
and
who do you think should decide?
Well, who controls them? That raises the bigger question of who are children responsible to ultimately? Who are they entrusted to? Do children belong to government, and the government decides, or do children belong to parents, and parents decide? Or do children belong to God and entrusted to parents, and God decides? So I think probably your philosophy would be that the government should decide what's best for the children, which, of course, is the socialist philosophy, as opposed to the Christian philosophy, which says, no, parents decide. And if 90% of the population believes they want their kids taught something, that's what they should be taught. It's not your decision to decide what my kids learn.
I'm not really talking about my own personal perspective on what should be the case. I'm just asking you, do you think that is the way that we should,
it's a
organize the school system?
It's a false analogy because 90% of the population does not believe in astrology. So
if they did, it's a hypothetical situation.
Sure. If they did, then that probably should be taught. And you'll see that's the case down through history where things are taught just because the majority believe. And that's where that gives rise to good scientists to come up and say, wait, let's challenge this majority view. The Earth does not go, and the sun does not go around the Earth. Let's challenge this. That's what our program is for. We're challenging this view. You did not come from a rock. I'm sorry, rocks, plural, male and female, red and blue one, pink and blue.
Well, I got you to admit what I wanted you to admit, so I guess I'm done with that topic. I mean, that's really the crux of the issue. You think the majority should decide what people learn in education?
Well, I think parents should decide what they want their children taught, okay? If you're in a country that is all Catholic and they all get together and say, we want our kids taught the Catholicism, that's probably the way it should be.
Well,
now, should it be mandatory or should there be some tolerance? Like in Muslim countries, you only teach Islam. That's the way it is. And if somebody says, hey, can we teach anything else? No, and we're going to go hang you up by your hands and, cut off your legs. That goes over the line, certainly.
Yeah. So, like in these Muslim countries, they are indoctrinated with something that you think is blatantly false and pretty stupid, right?
Correct. I think Islam has some really stupid things they believe, yes.
So what do you do about that? You try to influence them in a grassroots kind of way? You don't think it's appropriate to do it from a top-down way?
Well, I think you should do it from top-down and bottom-up and middle-out, I think, like the creation movement is attacking the evolution religion from the top down and from the bottom up and from the middle. We reach people at the grassroots by the tens of thousands. We reach teachers kind of in the middle, and we reach some legislation at the top. So I think we have a pretty effective approach, and I think most evolutionists, even yourself, would have to admit the creation movement looks pretty threatening.
I don't know if it's threatening. I mean, it's kind of scary just because of the possibility, but I'm not sure, how. I mean, I don't think that it's ever going to destroy real science. So
are you assuming there that evolution is real science?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that's part of your assumption.
I'm not assuming that. I mean, it's pretty self-evident that it is.
It's self-evident that evolution is real science. Well, I guess you would need to define, what you mean by evolution and what you mean by science before we could continue that line of thought.
Theory of evolution being the theory that says that biological organisms have arisen through a process involving mutation, natural selection, beginning with a single cell, because abiogenesis is not considered part of this theory.
Okay, well, I would agree.
What I would define as evolution.
I would agree with the first part of your definition. I think organisms today are here as a result of variations over time. Mutations have happened, and variations have happened.
And they all descended from their ancestors.
But, yeah, they descended from their ancestors, but that does not, instead of a tree all going back to one single cell, it's more like an orchard where all the dogs go back to dogs and all the cats go back to cats and all the bananas go back to bananas. But your imagination kicked in there the last half of your statement, okay, when you said it had a single-celled organism as their ancestor. That's where you really jumped out of science into religion.
I'm just explaining what the theory says, but I don't think that's religion.
Well, it's something you believe in, but there's no evidence for that. Are there still single-celled organisms alive today?
Yep.
Like bazillions of them, right?
But this is interesting because when I asked you before what evidence that you would want to, or what you'd expect to be seen if evolution were true, you said that you would expect to see intermediate forms in nature.
Correct.
So aren't you contradicting yourself right now?
No, I don't know of any intermediate forms.
Advanced bacteria, I think, would count as intermediate forms.
They're still alive. How can they be intermediate? Between what?
Yeah, because the original single-celled organisms that we supposedly evolved from would not be as advanced as the single-celled organisms we have today.
Oh, so the single-celled organisms billions of years ago were dumber than the ones today, or less?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you agree that you have two options then? You have to have. Let me give you the two possible options and tell me if there's a third I'm missing here.